Elizabeth.
Hi.
Sorry, we had a
Hi.
technological issue that I needed to figure out. So,
It's okay.
Anyway, I'm sorry to keep you waiting.
No.
Okay, so this is Valerie and Jenny and Jake.
Hi.
We're going to be your panel today. We're just going to jump right into your interview, and then we'll each take a couple minutes just to give you some feedback, and that'll be it. Easy peasy.
Excited. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so we're going to just jump right in.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is contestant number 2. This is Elizabeth Moots. Elizabeth, I am going to ask your first question, and I want to know, how did you select your talent song?
My talent song is called I Am What I Am, and I believe that that's a really strong message that needs to be heard, especially among young women today. I notice a lot of low self-confidence and low self-esteem and mental health problems at my school, and I think really embracing who you are is one of the messages in the media that's very popular right now. And that song, it's all about being exactly who you want to be.
Awesome.
How do you rate it on a scale of 1 to 10?
I rated a 10 because
You do.
yes, no, I'm serious. I love singing it. It really does bring me intense joy. And I just actually finished my blocking this weekend, and it makes it even more powerful and more fun. So,
Great. Can you tell us, are you homeschooled? Are you doing how are you doing school during
Right.
this pandemic?
so this year I have done a variety of things. So we started off the year going 2 to 3 days a week. We did like an A/B schedule, and then COVID got worse in our town, so it had to get shut down and go virtual for the last part of the quarter of second semester. And then now we're actually back full time, which is crazy. I kind of forgot how to go to school full time, but yep, it feels great to be back.
So how's it working for you? Did you like it one way versus another way better? Or?
I'm not going to lie to you. I loved being at every other day. It gave me a lot of time to do my homework because I spend a lot of time dancing and prepping for Miss Missouri after school. So it did give me like 8 extra hours to focus on schoolwork.
I have a quick question for you. What is your short definition for someone who doesn't know of type 1 diabetes?
I would say that type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease caused by the failure of your insulin producing beta cells in your pancreas to make insulin. Insulin is a hormone that's released to keep glucose from going too high in your bloodstream. And that's what I would tell someone, because I think that's a simple way of explaining it.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'd like to know how you raised $50,000 in 6 months.
Okay, so my marketing plan started off, I mean, whenever I was in the hospital in my freshman year, I wasn't really thinking about raising money, but it started there. That was where I started thinking of people that had type 1 diabetes, and we made a list of all the people we knew. And whenever you get diagnosed with the disease, people really tell you, oh, well, I know this person, my brother has it, da-di-da-di-da. And we came up with a list by the time I left the hospital of 25 people, and it's grown since then. And those were the first people we reached out to because they identify with this disease and they see how important a cure is. And then we really reached out to people that we knew might give $500 or more because they were our close friends and family, really invested, and they'd seen the effect type 1 had on my life. We made brochures that had intense descriptions of what type 1 diabetes is, the things JDRF is doing for type 1 diabetes and its research, awareness, and even better treatment plans. And then we really I was so humbled, and I really tried to say, okay, this is a one-time thing. I'm not going to ask you for money next year. Please think about giving to this amazing cause, because the money went directly to type 1 diabetes research through JDRF. And I have seen the research because I went to an endocrinology lab. I saw what they are doing with stem cells and mice. They've cured type 1 diabetic mice. So I'm really passionate about it, and I think that I conveyed that passion to the people, and I really saw amazing feedback.
You sure did. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Conveying passion to the people. You did that for 1,500 in person as an MC. Have you been an MC elsewhere before? Is this a typical gig for you?
No, actually, it's only been a 2-year gig. I wasn't the MC last year. I was a speaker about my fundraising, but this year they said, wow, she's a good speaker. Let's have her back as the MC. And I said, what? That's amazing.
You're on your way back.
Yes, I'll be doing the MC on June 5th. It's virtual, but it's going to still be an amazing event. Last year at the virtual gala, they still raised $500,000, which is they usually raise $1 million, but for a virtual gala, I would say that's pretty amazing. So I'm excited.
One more question about the MC gig. I think it's super interesting. If you've been able to do it once and now you're invited to do it again, what wisdom are you taking with you this time? Anything different? Are you prepping in any different way?
Right. So last time I did not have any idea, especially with a Zoom audience, the massive silence you're going to get sometimes. So I've planned some more filler things and some more bullet points as extra backup to be able to speak about. I didn't really get lost or anything last time. I've just planned for more because, I mean, it's a totally different atmosphere.
Sure.
Elizabeth, I am dying to know what has inspired your career aspiration of becoming a child psychologist.
So whenever I was in 7th grade, this is actually kind of a sad story. We tried to adopt someone into our family because they had been friends with my sister, and we really connected with her, and it didn't work out. But I've really become passionate about kids in foster homes because I've seen the effect of the foster care system and how hard it is on these kids' lives, and that it's not even their fault that their behavior is the way it is. I mean, yes, everyone is accountable for their own behavior, but there's a psychological difference between these children and other children, and I want to be able to help with that because I've watched it firsthand, and I do believe that through therapy, whenever you're young, you can really actually have a potential to be a successful adult instead of seeing tragedies like we see often.
What's the first thing you want to do when the pandemic is over?
I want to have a huge party. I haven't been able to go to a huge party in a long time, and I love them. So just something really fun because
Would it be themed after one of the musicals you know?
Oh, well, you know what? I hadn't thought about it, but I should definitely do that. Maybe my favorite musical is Les Mis, and maybe that's a depressing theme, but we could do a Wicked theme. That'd be fun.
Elizabeth, I want to know if you have a free Saturday morning, nothing going on. What are you doing?
That is something I've never heard of because every Saturday I wake up at 7 a.m. and I go teach tap. But what I would do is talk with my mom and drink coffee and just have a morning with her because she's my favorite person to hang out with, and I don't get as much time to just chill with her as I would love.
Elizabeth, how do you take your coffee?
I drink it black. I'm intense.
So is this your first pageant?
This is not. I competed at Miss Missouri 3 years ago, and then I took a year off whenever I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and I've done locals, but this is my second year at state.
Do you have a coach? Have you ever had a coach?
I have Marianne, who is my director, and then I'm working with someone on my interview.
You've held a lot of leadership positions. Which one has allowed you think, to make the most impact on others outside of JDRF?
Outside of JDRF, definitely teaching dance. So this year I've had the opportunity to teach dance. I teach tap and ballet at a studio 30 miles away from where I live. And I was the first tap teacher any of these kids have ever had. So I've gotten to watch them learn it, and it's been such an amazing experience to feel like, I'm the person that taught them. I'm the person that has made them capable of this skill, and I also have tried really hard to be a positive influence on these kids' lives, and I've learned a lot about how to teach something and how to interact with children in a way I didn't really have the opportunity to before.
I'm sorry, Elizabeth, we're out of time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good job. Deep
Thank
breath. Everyone together. How do you think that went?
I think it went well. I mean, I answered every question.
Yeah, that's a good start.
Yes.
What's something you thought went well, and what's something you think that you could maybe improve upon?
Well, I've always been told that I need to talk a little bit less, and that's probably still applies. It's gotten better though, I'm telling you. Since the beginning, I truly have gotten my answers shortened. So that's good.
That's good. Well, I would agree with you. I think that some of them were a little bit long, but your content that you were speaking about was really lovely. So I didn't.
Thank you.
necessarily mind, but specifically the one about raising $50,000. That took almost 2 minutes of your interview,
Okay.
which you only get 8 minutes. So just keep in mind that you want to get in as many questions as possible. I think we got in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We got in 11 in 8 minutes, so that's not horrible, but it's always nice to have a couple more maybe. I thought it was a really nice interview. I really liked speaking with you. You're very personable. You're very likable.
Thank
I
you.
was sad when the time was over because I wanted to ask you. My next question was going to be, what do you binge watch on Netflix? That was just so you know what I was going to
It's
ask you.
Grey's Anatomy. So
There you go. Great. My overall note to you is I just felt like it didn't necessarily feel like a teen interview. I wanted more moments of realizing you were a teen. Do you know what I mean? Like, for example, when I asked you, what are you doing if you have a free Saturday morning? Now, I love that you get up at 7 a.m. and go teach tap. That was cool, and I'm glad you told me that because I'm like, wow, she's a hard worker. She takes her free time to go better other people. That's what being Miss Missouri That Team is all about. That was great. But I also wanted almost like, but if I didn't have tap, and I love to think about your mom, but most people say something about their mom, which is fine. But I wanted something that was like unique to you. Do you know what I
Okay.
mean? Like,
Mhm.
you know what? If I had a free morning, I would start Grey's Anatomy at the very beginning and watch McDreamy through 20 seasons. You know what I mean? Or something like funny or personal
Okay.
like that. That would just give us a little bit more of Elizabeth. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
My other main note is you talk with your hands a lot. I'm a
Mhm.
very like theater hands person too, so I
Mhm.
get it. But just be aware that sometimes it could be distracting, especially the podium at Miss Missouri, if you remember, is usually clear. So even if your hands are like moving on the pedestal, like they'll still see it. So
Okay.
either just like planting your hands there and using them specifically to make a certain gesture is maybe a good place to start. I find if I like don't put my hands down, I just keep doing this.
Yeah.
Even in auditions, I'll be like, "Ah!"
Okay.
Just be aware of your hands. Of course, a nice gesture every now and then is lovely, but just be aware of not. You do this a lot. It's like
Okay.
this, like upward thing. So just be aware of that happening. Okay, those are my high points. If we have time at the end, I'll maybe give you a couple more. But overall, it was really nice, and we're just nitpicking because we can.
Well, yeah.
Okay, let's go in reverse order this time. So Jake, will you go first, please?
Sure thing. Elizabeth, clearly you're a strong interviewer, and I hope that you know that.
Thank you.
Because you are. How old are you?
17.
17. Okay. So yes, what Shelby's getting at is like, remember, you can have a little fun in your answers because you're 17. Like,
Okay.
if it was a congressional hearing and we were about to, confirm you to a governmental post, maybe not. But you
Maybe
have
not.
some freedom here
Okay.
to let that light shine a little bit in like fun ways.
Okay.
My only critique at this point is some of the intros to your answers are casual, as in, okay, so.
Okay.
And then you get to this really amazing and like well-developed, mature answer. But the okay, so is we actually want to see that, but in different ways. It just doesn't belong in those words at the beginning of the sentence. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And I'm a firm believer in no matter what the answer you give in an interview, never discredit yourself. As in, this is a sad story. That almost makes us, you said that at the very beginning of
Okay.
your answer, and that almost makes me think like, oh gosh, well, choose something different if it's really going to be that sad.
Okay.
It really wasn't even like the
Okay.
way
It
you
wasn't sad. Yeah.
when you delivered it was not truly a travesty. Like it was a good answer. I just mean to say that when you say that, it's almost like taking a shot at yourself,
Okay.
your own answer, and you don't deserve that because your answers are good.
Thank
So
you.
that's my only critique.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, good job.
Jenny, please.
Yes, hi, Elizabeth. Lovely job. I really enjoyed talking with you. I think part of the critiques that you're getting in that it doesn't feel like you're a teen is great in that you are mature, you are well spoken, you have done actual things. I think that's one thing that a lot of candidates, especially in the teen division, are missing. They have ideas, but they haven't done actual things. And so the fact that you were able to give us a 2-minute story on raising $50,000 is very impressive and exciting and wonderful. But as everyone has already said, I think I want to know more about, just, and part of it is the questions. You can't control the questions that you're going to get, but getting more to, like when you were talking about the friend in foster care, I really loved that story. And when you were talking about finding the people who had type 1 diabetes, I really loved that story. So I think what I would recommend for your answers is pick one thing. Like you have you pointed out, you talk a lot, which is fine. I want to hear a story, and you talk in a way that makes me want to keep hearing your story. But pick one thing. And I think because of the way your paperwork is written, there are going to be things that people are definitely going to ask you about. They are probably most definitely going to ask you about being a type 1 diabetic, raising that type of money. There are certain things that just kind of scream at judges when they see it. They're like, oh, I got to ask her about this. And so I would say maybe just practice on those things that you know are going to get hit on. Pick your one point, and that's the one point that you're going to get across, and then get out of it so that we can ask more questions, like Shelby said, and really get to know more about you and your personality, and hopefully, give you the hard questions, but then also give you the low balls, like, how do I take my coffee, or what do you binge on Netflix? Because that's when we'll get to know you.
Okay.
Lovely.
Thanks you.
Thanks, Jenny.
Great.
And Valerie, please.
Great, Elizabeth, I enjoyed you very much. I liked the way you looked. I looked
Thank
at
you.
your earrings. I looked at what you wore. I couldn't get my eyes off you. I didn't like you. I fell in love with you the minute that you started talking.
Thank you.
And I'm just saying, God, please make sure she can answer these questions, because I see you in the top 5, if not winning the whole thing. I
Thank
don't
you.
know what your talent is like, but I believe in you. I was so impressed with the $50,000. I was so impressed with the work that you did. I did think that there were some parts that you could get a little more personal. You're like a coloring book, and we're just opening it up, and we want to see all the colors come to the pages.
Okay.
So we want to see a little quirkiness, and we want to see a little funniness, and we want to see serious, and all those things, because I could see you becoming the outstanding teen.
Thank you.
For Missouri, if not win the whole thing. I enjoyed you very much, and I was curious if you had a coach or whatever, but whatever you're doing, keep doing, because you're
Thank you.
natural. And that's unlike a lot of people, because they get so uptight and so stiff or whatever. But you were so relaxed, and you were like, okay, let's go. I just enjoyed it very much, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Valerie. I think, Elizabeth, something that could help you to just shorten your answers is on these topics that you always get asked about, like Valerie and Jenny said, JDRF, raising that money, why should you win? The basic questions that have a high probability of being asked in an interview for you. I would really recommend, either if you're a note card person or a journal person, but write out a question, and then just put 3 bulleted points under there.
Okay.
And those are your talking points. So if someone asks you, how did you raise $50,000? I was in the hospital when I was a freshman in high school, diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. I knew I wanted to help people that were going through this traumatic experience. So we made a list of all these people that we knew had type 1 diabetes, and then that list grew and grew and grew and grew. And I started asking people personally, and that's how I did it. That was 10 seconds? Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So obviously you can put in a little bit more fluff in there. But
Yeah, I loved how she said she was only going to ask them once.
yeah.
that was
So
cool.
really make that a big donation. I loved that.
I also did that.
Yeah, so you know what I mean? But if you have your bulleted points, then in your brain, your brain's already done the legwork. So when
Okay.
you get any kind of question, and the thing is once you make those 3 bulleted points, that little answer can be applied to, how did you raise the money? How do you, what have you done with JDRF? What have you done for your platform? How has type 1 diabetes affected you? All those questions could literally pull from those same 3 bulleted points. But then it will help your brain not ramble. And I've got to include this, and I forgot about this, and this, and this, and this. Your brain has already done your homework. Here's my talking points, and it'll help make your answer shorter. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
And you can put those 3 points in different variations. Don't keep saying it the same way,
Right.
the same way, but. you can
Yes, bulleted
make
points should
smaller.
not be complete sentences. They should just be like fragmented, short things, just to like trigger words. So
Okay.
if you, as soon as you hear that, you answer. I also think that it would be good for you to, I don't know if I have, I can send this to you. I have a list of like your 51st note cards for interview prep. And it's, most of them are very personal, like your favorite food, your favorite movie, your favorite
Oh,
character.
yeah. Okay.
Those things that make you teen and personable and human.
Okay.
And I think if you can again do a note card or a write out like, who's your favorite character? My favorite character is Cam in Modern Family because, you know,
Okay.
or whatever, or McDreamy in Grey's Anatomy because, all the questions. And then when you're asked anything in your interview, again, your brain will automatically go to retrieve those things that you've already thought about instead of having to hum and ha and not know what to say. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Cool. I would also come up with like, what is your go-to thing that you're going to do in your free time? Because I've heard that question not only asked by me, but a lot of people. Like,
Okay.
it's a free Friday night. What are you going to do? Or you can binge watch anything on Netflix. What is it? Do you know what I mean? People
Okay.
ask those like super fluffy questions, especially if your interview has had a lot of JDRF type 1, blah, blah, blah. So just
right.
think about like, what is something, you know what I mean? Like, do you get in the car with your friends and go to Sonic? Do you
Yeah.
go to the movies? Do you, I guess not right now because it's COVID, but you know, what is a quirky thing that Elizabeth does in her free, do you cross stitch? Do you sing Taylor Swift? Do you know what I mean? Like, what is your go-to thing?
Yes.
And I would really marinate on that because that's something that could for sure come up and it makes you very teen and very relatable if you have a go-to thing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cool.
And you know, I just want to be sure you know that like this is just all a big compliment to you. Like you're super mature. I thought you were 21.
I'm not.
You know what I mean?
You're
Thank
too
you.
good, Elizabeth.
Oh no.
Very good. Seriously, though, you are great. And the fact that Valerie just said you could be top 5 and win it all, like, she knows her stuff. So that's a huge compliment.
you.
You like write that down in your journal and read it before your interview. That Valerie Clifford Clemens told you.
I will.
Because it's a big deal. So, yes, we're just nitpicking because we can, because the content and everything is there. And so we're just trying to help you take it to the next level because you can totally do it.
Well, thank you for helping me. Yeah.
Yes, of course. You did a great job. And hopefully I'll see you again.
Yes. Okay. Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Bye.
Bye, Elizabeth. See ya.
See ya.